Hello, everybody, and welcome to another amicable divorce discussion. My name is Tracy Ann Moore Grant, and if you forget all those names, they're on the screen there. I'm the founder of the Amicable Divorce Network, and I am joined today by two of our members, Cynthia Milner and Mike Congemi, who are both real estate appraisers, both residential and commercial. And in almost all of my cases that we have these days, where I'm handling amicable cases, it always involves a marital home, almost 100% of the time. And so with the crazy real estate market that we're having these days, I thought we would call in the experts to figure out what we need to do here and what tools they're using to value homes. So welcome, Cynthia and Mike. Mike's having a little bit of camera trouble today, so just listen up for him to jump in. Cynthia, thank you for being here. And Mike?
It's great to be here.
Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit to everybody?
Well, sure. I'm Cynthia Milner, and I'm a certified general real estate appraiser, which means that I do primarily commercial appraisals. But of course, I have residential appraisal background also.
Gotcha. And Mike, tell us about you.
Yes, I'm Mike Congemi. I'm a certified residential appraiser with 17 years experience in the Atlanta market.
And so we have some very experienced voices here today to help us out with these complicated issues. So I'll turn it over to you all. In this very complicated real estate market, a lot of times as an attorney, I'm advising my clients, we need to get the home appraised because it's not going to necessarily be sold. We're trying to come up with a value. But the market seems all over the place. How are you guys appraising property in this complicated market?
Mike, why don't you take this one, because you have more experience on the residential end more recently than I do.
Sure. As in appraisals, with the market, we have to go from the current time period and look back and see what each individual market's doing. In general, in residential, we don't use a broad market like the Atlanta market, but the Atlanta market is made up of several sub-markets. Generally, if you're outside the perimeter by school districts and counties, if you're inside the perimeter by very defined neighborhoods like Morningside, Chastain Park, and so forth. And so we used sales. We track sales. I generally track sales for over 2 years and see what the trend is over that time and see what the market's doing. Many markets are now stabilizing, where they've been stable, price has been stable for at least 6 months, sometimes 12 months, or they may still be slightly increasing, but the increases happened over 9 months ago.
Gotcha.
So if we use dated sales, if the market has been stable for the past 9 months and all the sales are within that 9-month time frame, there'd be no time adjustments. But if the sales are over that 9 months, then whatever that time, there may be a time adjustment applied to that sale. So
that's good to know, because I would say that's probably the one thing I hear from clients the most is, well, you can't use these historical values 2020, 2021, because there's no way our house would sell for that now with the mortgage interest rate. So it's good to hear that there's a time adjustment that's put into appraisals to accommodate for that.
Yeah, that's what I found too, is that it's not really that the prices have gone down so much. It's just takes a much longer time to sell the house because the market has to be targeted. If you're selling a house that would be appealing to a senior or somebody who might be a cash buyer, you'll still get your price for your house. But if somebody has to get a mortgage in this day and age, the price of the house is going to go down to allow for that mortgage rate that's so much higher, because there's not very many people that can afford a $5,000 a month mortgage.
Right.
And so the mortgage rates have a great deal of impact on the value of homes. And the fact that we jumped so falsely high, I mean, we had unrealistic expectations on the prices of houses for a while. And I'm really considering this period of time that we're in right now more of a correction than a lack of market. And that's one reason that I think I like being a commercial appraiser, because it's a math problem. It's not emotional. And when you're dealing with a marital home, it's emotional.
Always,
And
yes.
people always believe that their house is so much more valuable than every other house that is sold because it's theirs.
Right.
And, you know, and that's not something that
Mhm.
any, you know, a math problem won't solve that. And
Right.
you just have to be very gentle in the way
Mhm.
that you present the fact that here are the facts.
Right.
I,
So-
I agree with Cynthia wholeheartedly, you
Yeah.
know, and number of sales have slowed down, and the days on market that homes are exposed to the market has gone up. Where 9 months ago, a house may be on the market for 5 or 10 days. Now you're seeing where homes are on the market for 30, 45, sometimes 60 days is not unusual anymore.
Yeah.
But at the end of that time period, it sounds like you're saying they're getting the value that they were before. It's just taking longer to find that right buyer who can qualify to make the payments.
That's really what it takes. And, you know, I mean, yes, there is a little bit of correction in the price, but not so much that people say, oh no, I can't believe I couldn't get my value for my home.
Yeah.
They can't believe how long it's taking to sell.
Yeah.
it.
And there should be a correction because I think what you were
Yeah.
stating is it's so inflated. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
let's touch on the thing that we see a lot of people doing. As I'm a mediator as well as an attorney, and I always see people coming into mediation and trying to settle cases with Zillow appraisals or Zillow numbers. Thoughts and feelings on that?
Yes, I have a thought on that. There's kind of a joke in the appraisal profession. The A in Zillow is for accuracy.
In other words, there is nothing. Yeah, I mean, it's wishful thinking.
Yeah. And so you find those numbers that are often on Zillow to be inflated numbers, not to be accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
you know, and one thing about Zillow is this is one big glaring hole in Zillow's estimates is that they have no idea the interior condition of the home.
Right.
And many times they don't know the exterior condition as well. And condition is a large driver in the value of real estate, whether it be residential or commercial.
Exactly. Yeah. If you have your bathrooms are updated as opposed to somebody seeing a project, I mean, that's a big value item there. So.
Yeah, and if people are going to pay an asking price for a house, they want to be able to walk in.
Sure.
They don't want to have any project hanging over their heads. So
Yes.
if you even have dated light fixtures
Mhm.
in your home, that's a project.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to get the highest price in the market.
Yeah.
And, you know, and homeowners need to understand that.
Mhm.
Even though you like the light fixture, it might not be the
Right.
light fixture that the market in general wants.
Yeah. We won't talk about the light fixtures that were in our house when we bought them, but, quite unusual. So we had a little bit of a project there, but I think Cynthia, you touched on something, and then, you know, we've talked about how people always think their home is so great because they love it and it's their home and they put
Their
so much
home.
time and energy into it. And I hear that often, like, well, there's something unique about my home. We fixed this, we added this touch. And so when you all come to appraise, you walk through and you take those things into consideration. You look at all these things, correct?
That's correct.
Mhm.
And that's the big difference between having an appraisal and looking at Zillow or looking at the market, you know, looking at some
Mhm.
MLS CMA,
Yeah.
which is a competitive market analysis. You know, I mean, those things, they don't afford you the detail that an appraisal does.
Because I'm always on one side of the equation or the other. I'm always on the person who wants as much as possible or the person who wants to pay as little as possible. So somebody's always saying, oh, it's so unique and so valuable, or somebody's saying, oh, it actually has all these problems. You know, there's crack in the ceiling and this and that. So all of that would be in the report.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think that all of that matters. You know, that's the thing about getting an appraisal is that an appraiser is not allowed to be an advocate for either side.
Right.
An appraiser has to be that objective person.
Mhm.
We have to, you know, it's like we have to be the adult in this situation.
Yeah.
And we have to look at it just with squinty eyes, you know, and just say, I'm just going to look at it for what it is. I'm not taking sides.
Yeah. And I think that's really important for people to understand about the Amicable Divorce Network process as well, because one of the ways we streamline the process is by usually parties agreeing to use the same professional expert, whether it's a business valuation expert or an appraiser or a forensic accountant. Whereas in a contested litigation, you would have two similar people with the same credentials doing the same duplicative work. So
Yeah.
often in an amicable case, we say we're going to use one of our network member appraisers. We're going to get this appraisal, and that's going to settle the dispute as to this value. So that's a good thing to streamline and understand the process there. So
Yeah, I'd like to add something else.
sure.
One thing that's key in the appraisal process, the comparables should, the appraisal process operates on the principle of substitution when we're talking about sales comparables. In other words, the comparables generally should be homes that a potential buyer that would be looking at the subject that's being appraised, the comparables should be competing homes that same buyer would typically look at,
Mhm.
And the differences are adjusted for in
Mhm.
that.
Gotcha. Yeah, like square footage, number of bedrooms, with a
Yeah,
commercial
square footage
property,
should be pretty close.
footage and all sorts of things.
No.
So yeah, so that's good to know. So we might do another talk another time on how you guys can tell us as attorneys and mediators and other professionals where we're not experts, how to look at an appraisal and what we need to be pulling out of that. I think that could be really helpful to do a
Oh,
Sure.
that
Cliff
is.
Notes class for us on that kind of thing, because sometimes our clients hate that appraisal. So we want to be able to tell them what's good or what's bad about it and be able to
Right.
point out those differences. But for today, I want to thank you guys so much for weighing in with your expertise on appraisals and the current housing market. If you're watching this and you need an appraisal in Georgia, you can contact Mike or Cynthia. Their information is under this video, so you can reach out to them directly. You can also find them in the Amicable Divorce Network membership directory under Georgia and reach out to them that way as well. So thank you guys very much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure.